Ralph, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for squeezing me in.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love talking to stand-up comedians, but I especially love talking to stand-up comedians who are from the DFW area, which is where I did most of my growing up. So I know I'm talking to a guy who who grew up in Mesquite, which isn't exactly Carrollton. We're kind of in opposite directions, but thank you so much for talking to a fellow Texan today, man.
Hell yeah. I'm glad we could get along. For those who don't know about Carrollton and Mesquite, Mesquite doesn't get a whole lot of respect like Carrollton might. I like that area. I tell people I didn't know though. I would tell people I'm from Mesquite, and apparently it's just kind of not very respectable.
Well, here's what I tell people about Carrollton, Ralph. Carrollton used to be whatever back when I was growing up. I'm like 20 years older than you are. But then Carrollton put a toll road right through the middle of it. They took out all our soccer fields and strip centers and whatnot. And all of a sudden it became a respectable place. So apparently you guys just need to put more highways through Mesquite to get that respect.
Hell yeah. I'll
I'm
put
actually
in
going. I'm
a
going to be
letter.
missing the show this Saturday because I'm going up to Texas OU this weekend. I got a couple of young kids who are going to do the fair on Friday. I would assume for you, as somebody who grew up in the Dallas area, that you've been to the state fair once or twice in your life. Is that true?
Yeah.
Have you
Um
tried riding roller coasters as an adult? Because it's something I used to love as a kid, but it terrifies me now, unfortunately.
Nah, I've always been terrified of roller coasters. I think just being an adult, people don't expect you to ride them anymore, which is good. I can decline going on roller coasters, but from like a place of like, hey, I make the rules here, I'm an adult. I don't got to do anything anybody tries to peer pressure me to do it. I'm too grown for it. I've gone on one roller coaster and that was it. I'm not a roller coaster guy.
What was that at, like Six Flags or something?
No, I was there at the fair. It was when it was on my 14th birthday. I took a girl with me, my girlfriend at the time, and she peer pressured me into it. And, I'm glad I did it because it made me look cool in front of her. I screamed a lot, so maybe not that cool, you know, but I was thinking about it when I was at the fair the other day. I was like, that ride is still there, and I'm still not going to touch it unless that girl gets back with me.
She gets back. So did you take your I think you have got a 5-year-old son. Did you take your 5-year-old to the fair? Is that why you decided to go back this year?
Yeah, I took my son. We went there with my brother, my sister, my parents. Um, They just ate a lot of junk. My son is actually not afraid of the rides, which made me kind of mad. I was like, bro, you making me look bad.
That's the same thing with my kids. I've got a 10 and 8-year-old now, and they're screaming out of glee. I'm screaming because I think I'm about to lose my life. And we get off and they're like, Dad, we want to do it again. I'm like, trying to not trying to bust the dream too bad for him, Ralph. But I'm like, I point over to the Carney who's in control of that ride. You see that guy right there? That guy doesn't look very trustworthy, does he? He is responsible for whether or not you live or die on this ride. So if you want to go ride it again, go for it. And of course they did.
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that excuse, but I should blame the carnies. Be like, look at that guy. You think he's educated?
So the Texas State Fair is obviously notorious for fried foods too. Fletcher's corn dog is the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds. Is there anything else strange or unexpectedly fried that you guys tried when you were there a few weeks back?
Man, they have those fried peanut butter jelly sandwiches, which just taste like a hot jelly donut. Really, it's like really doughy. Um, but I get halfway into it, I just start feeling really guilty. I'm like, bro, I feel like I'm just doing drugs at this point. Like this is way too sweet, way too satisfying. Like this has to be so bad. And then I got a Frito pie, and then I gave into like because I saw they had the Nathan's chili dogs. I
Yeah.
never seen Nathan's hot dogs down in Texas. I always see that like up in New York. So I was like, well, I can't just pass up on a Nathan's. Like, so I got a Nathan's chili dog as well. Everything I ate, I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of it so I can show a doctor once it's like screws me up. It's crazy though, and I don't know if this is like nasty to talk about, but the next day I actually had the healthiest poop I've had in a while.
If you're not used to eating food like that, then yeah, it's going to flush straight through your system. It's after eating it 3 or 4 times in a row that it starts going to your love handles.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I thought I was gonna, have some bad business at the toilet, but bro, I was good to go. I recommend fair food.
Just wait until you get into your 40s. Unfortunately, it does not work like that anymore. Unfortunately, you eat more than a bite of everything and you just feel sick to your stomach for the next 4 days.
Nah, bro, I won't have that problem with the advances in modern technology. By the time I'm 40, food will be pills or something, you know?
Yeah, well, and at the Texas State Fair, those pills will be deep fried too.
Hell yeah.
While we're on the subject of going and doing things in the DFW area, people may not realize this about Mesquite, but Mesquite, at least they used to. Maybe they don't even have this anymore. You guys used to have a famous rodeo. Is that rodeo still there?
Yeah.
So you've been to the rodeo before then too, correct?
Man, I went when I was very, very small with my grandpa. My grandpa used to dress me up like a cowboy, take me to rodeos and stuff.
You didn't
But
have to do any mutton busting, did you?
nah. I was tiny though. So I barely remember it.
Yeah, well, it's probably for the best. The last time I went to a rodeo, it was here in Austin, and I found myself rooting for the animals over the humans. And let me tell you, the rodeo crowd does not take too kindly for rooting for the animals over the humans in that scenario.
Yeah, I went to one when I was maybe the last one I went to was actually in high school. I hadn't gone to one for a while, but I do remember they were hitting the bull. They were like hitting it with that little shocky thing. I don't know what it's called. I know it's not called shocky thing, but man, I just felt bad for the bull. I was like, I've seen it so many times that I was kind of like, insensitive to it. But then the last time I saw it, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh man, they're really hurting that bull. Like they do this pretty often. So after that, I just kind of never went back anymore.
That's how I feel about it too. Like they do bullfights in parts of Spain. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go see that because the point of the matador being out there is not just to evade the bull. He's like sticking it with swords the entire time. And at the very end, the bull, which is just being forced out there without any sort of free will decision to do so, ends up getting slaughtered.
That's why I like the bull riding down in Mexico because there's no safety gear. So like if the bull just hits you, at least it gets his licks back, you know?
See, the last time I was in Mexico, I thought I had a chance to go see a cockfight. So maybe this is hypocritical of me, but I wanted to go see a cockfight, even though I knew the losing rooster was going to end up as somebody's dinner.
I've never seen a cockfight in Mexico. I've only seen the bull riding. My grandpa who used to take me to the rodeos, he actually rode a bull for the last time when he was about I want to say like 64. No gear, just a cowboy hat.
64?
Yeah.
How tough was this dude?
My grandpa was pretty tough. May he rest in peace. He's passed on now, but yeah, he was living down in Mexico. He was living in the States. He moved back to Mexico. And he'd come back and visit every now and then. And one day he just comes with the footage and like the pictures of his last bull ride. And we had those pictures hanging in our living room for a while because we were just like, bro, we couldn't even believe it either. We're just like, what are you doing, man?
Now, I assume you haven't even ridden like the mechanical bulls downtown in Austin or anything like that, right?
I don't even risk it with those.
See, that's the
I do
thing.
want to.
Even those, I've seen them mess up so many drunk fraternity and sorority kids from the University
My
of Texas. I'm like, I have no desire to get on top of that thing.
my old coworker rode one, and the mechanical bull had like horns on it. And when it dropped him and it spun around, the horn hit his knee. So he was like, it's swollen knee for a while. So even those can be dangerous. I do want to ride a real bull one time before I die, just so I can say I did it like my grandpa did.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Hopefully, it's not one of the bulls that's had its nuts tied up to make it even angrier at you.
Jeez, that's too far. I can't believe they do that. It's like if the bull's not angry, just let it not be angry. Let's just not ride bulls today. That's crazy going out of your way to tie the bull's nuts.
They want to make sure those things are as ticked off as possible. But have you heard the old urban legend about the old school TV show Mr. Ed? You know the TV show Mr. Ed about the talking horse?
No. I've never seen that.
So it's like an old black and white show from like back in the 1950s or 60s. The urban legend for that show is because the horse was constantly moving its mouth. The urban legend with how they got the horse to constantly move its mouth is that they were shoving a carrot up its keister. Now, other people
Oh,
swear that it was about them putting peanut butter on the horse's teeth. I looked at that show closely at one point. I may have been baked at the time. I could not see any peanut butter on the horse's teeth. I also could not see its backside either. So I'm sticking with the carrot hypothesis.
You see, that stuff is crazy. It's like, let's just not film the horse then. Let's just wait until CGI is invented.
Yeah, well, I think
A carrot up the butt. That's the original CGI.
Happy birthday, by the way. You had a birthday a week ago. You turned 28 years old. Did you do anything special for your birthday?
Man, I feel like I'm 28, but at heart, like 38. I was, a lot of different relatives were wanting to go out for a nice dinner and stuff like that. I was like, let's just stay home, eat spaghetti. I was like, I've had enough celebrations. Also, what are we celebrating? I do the same stuff every year. It's like I feel like if I had a good year, yeah, let's celebrate, let's do it big. But this was an okay year. Let's just stay home, eat spaghetti. I'm good.
Plus, what does 28 really mean, anyhow? 28, I mean, the day you turn 28 is exactly like the day before and you were still 27, right?
Yeah, the good birthdays are like 18. 16, you get your license. 18, you can go into, grown up places. 21, you can drink. After that, you just look forward to like older person stuff. I couldn't wait to turn 25 just so my car insurance could go down and I can start renting cars.
That's right. Yeah, you don't get any of those perks at 28. You're just 28. All of a sudden, you're that much closer to the age of 30. And once you're 30, talking about younger people, you're over the hill at that point, even though we are thankfully at a point in time where those sorts of ages are really just a number. I mean, I'm 46 years old. I've got friends who are my same age who are taking all sorts of medications just to stay reasonably alive, where I still feel okay, but that's because I take care of myself too.
You don't look that age. You look pretty young.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Believe it or not, I'm Armenian. It's my Armenian genes that apparently keep me young. They say black don't crack. Apparently, the same thing applies to Armenians too.
I gotta give me some of those gene splicing.
Well, find a Kardashian, and you can at least guarantee your future offspring will have some of that.
Oh hell no! Everybody who messes with Kardashians ends up with issues.
That's true.
I'm good on that.
That is very true. So I know you were in Austin about a year ago because, man, you sold out Cap City Comedy Club real fast. You've obviously been on the Rogan show previously as well. Has Austin made much of an impression on you in the time you've gotten to spend over the last few years as your stand-up career has really taken off, Ralph?
Austin has always um, been like a a good place to go. Even I feel like around COVID times, Austin became like another comedy hub. Um, it became more recognized by a lot of the big comics that were coming out of New York and LA for sure. But even before COVID, before it was popular amongst like a lot of comedians, Austin was the comedy spot for Texas. I came up in Dallas and I would talk to a lot of Houston comics as well. And when you're coming up, everybody's like, all right, whenever you make the move, are you going to move to LA or New York? So a lot of people would go to Austin as like a training wheels before you leave to New York or LA, because Austin was always a spot where you could perform every night of the week. People were doing backyard shows, backyard open mics, and bars and clubs. Like Austin was always a great place for comedy, and I think it still is. What's crazy though, and I enjoy it either way. I always made sure I'd go to Austin just to get reps in. But what's crazy is that pre-COVID, Austin was like a very PC comedy zone. You have to be really careful what you said at comedy shows in Austin. Now it's the complete opposite. Now you go to a show in Austin and you're gonna hear some edgy stuff.
Yeah, it helps when like you go to the comedy, not the comedy store, the comedy stores in LA, of course. When you go to the comedy mothership and they lock your phones up beforehand, because at that point as a comedian, I'm guessing I haven't ever gotten up on stage there. It adds a sense of relief that you can work on things and not make a misstep and end up having people trying to cancel you over it too.
Yeah, because you see, and I don't like that cancel stuff. I don't necessarily believe that people should like be offensive just for the sake of being offensive.
Yeah.
I think number one priority is like be funny, and if it happens to offend, well, so be it. But I also don't like any of that cancel stuff because I think comedy is very huge on trial and error. Like you can't grow unless you're like trying stuff. So people should be allowed the attempt, like or like at least a try. And yeah, if it's like something that's kind of rough to hear and it doesn't work, well, like let the comic deal with the feedback that they're gonna realize like, hey, this didn't work. I should stop saying it. But yeah, I don't think people should be canceled, especially over like when they're just working a joke out.
Yeah, completely agreed. Now, I think you have gotten up on stage at least a couple of times at the Mothership. That place has obviously gotten a ton of love since it opened a year and a half ago. What were your impressions of getting up in front of that Mothership crowd?
Um, Man, that place makes it really easy to get comfortable for comics. The green room is it's just such a dope hangout spot. They also did what I think every comic wishes every comedy club had is they put two monitors in their two screens to show you both stages and the amount of time that the comic has been on stage so that you could know about how much you have left without having to keep bugging somebody and be like, how long's he been on there? Is it almost my turn? Like you're chilling, you're watching. Tons of comics are there just to hang out. It's every comic's like chill spot.
So you were selling out clubs last year, and now you're going across the country selling out theaters, and the ascent is pretty remarkable. But in preparing for this conversation, Ralph, I really enjoy hearing the respect that you have for the art form. For you as somebody who has been doing this for, I think, a little bit less than a decade now, and you've made these steps to go from selling out clubs to now selling out theaters. How much of an adjustment has it been for you getting up in front of crowds at theaters versus those 2 to 400 seat clubs every night?
Um, I think with the theaters, it takes me a while to get comfortable with the crowd. I think in a club, being such an intimate spot, it's easy to feel the. I hate using this word, but I have to. But like the vibe of the room, like
Yeah.
just the general feel. I feel like crowds are kind of like a beach, like an ocean, and every crowd has like a different like timing of the waves. So you kind of want to be like in tune with them. But when you're doing a theater, it's a little bit harder to gauge it and connect. They're a little further and stuff. But I guess it's more about listening. I could be in a theater and say a joke and just wait to hear the response, but still a little harder to connect. But I mean, I love it. It's definitely an ego boost to hear so many people laugh at a joke.
Yeah. Well, the Paramount is a great place to see comedy too, and I'm a bigger fan of the comedy club. If I'm going to see Dave Chappelle, let's say, and I could either go to a 200 seat club, a 500 seat theater, or a 15,000 seat arena. I want to see him at the smallest venue possible for that intimacy. But the Paramount is a great place. I went and saw David Cross there a couple weeks ago. I've seen countless comedians over time. Sam Morril recently, Mark Norman, guys like that, Theo Vaughn. And my understanding is that as the venue gets bigger, you as a comedian have to be a little bit more patient and wait longer between jokes in order for everything to hit properly and to wait for the crowd to react or moving on to the next thing. Has that kind of been your experience too?
Yeah, timing's just a little different. One thing that is cool about the theaters, though, like I said, like I agree, though. No, there's no better comedy show than one at an actual comedy club. But one thing that I do love about the theaters is that, with the clubs, every now and then you get like a rowdy crowd and you end up just talking to them most of the time. You get that less often with the theaters. People are so far, it's easy to ignore them or talk over them, like way easier. So if I have a night where I'm like, I only want to do material, like only jokes, even if it's just like one liners and it sounds like so scripted, like I could have that at a theater where it's just like joke, next joke, like boom, 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 instead of having to like, uh break from the show and talk and do this. But sometimes I do love doing that and it's fun and it feels a little more like a at home in the living room type feel. But every now and then I'm like, I got 45 minutes. I'm tired. I don't much feel like doing this. I'm just gonna go up there and do my 45 minutes of jokes, just and then I'm out. So you cannot, it's nice to do that at a theater. There's less room, there's less chances for the audience to like throw me off or engage.
Hmm. I know that you do go places occasionally to work material out, but you are in the middle of a theater tour right now. How are you feeling about that 45 minutes? You feeling good enough to where you are considering maybe taping something in the not too distant future?
We actually are taping. We were originally going to tape in Austin, but the scheduling kind of worked out different. But we're going to be taping in January at January 18th at the Balboa Theater in San Diego, California.
Was there any
This will be
particular
my
reason?
second special.
Yeah, was there any particular reason why you decided to go for San Diego for that second special? I know that the first one was in the Dallas area as an homage to your roots and where you worked as you were really starting to get into stand up. Why San Diego this time around?
So the the beginning of like me having an Instagram following or social media following in general, which led to having like a career, was um due to like viral clips and a set going viral, which was with Don't Tell Comedy. It was a 10-minute set that they released on YouTube and then clipped up as well, and that was taped in San Diego. So San Diego's always kind of like special to me for that reason. And then when we started the theater tour in January of this year, 2024, the first theater I ever headlined at was in San Diego, and like the shows were amazing. So I was just like, man, I started off this tour in San Diego, and I'm gonna just close it out there and just tape there.
So I know you told other podcasts, other shows that it was 5 years worth of material that went into Cowabunga, which is obviously a rousing success when it was released on Netflix last year. It's taken significantly less time for you to get comfortable with this current material, though. At what point in this tour did you feel really good about this 45 minutes that you will be putting it on tape at the beginning of next year?
Well, I had a lot of material left over that I'd never taped.
Hmm.
Um, after Netflix, I had maybe like close to half an hour of material. Not perfect, but just jokes that I could have punched up or whatever stories. I would say we taped we taped the Netflix special in, I believe it was August of 2023. I would say by like February of 2024, I was really happy with the new hour,
Hmm.
and I've only been like adding to it and changing things since then. So I'm excited to like, I have over an hour right now. I don't know how much I have exactly, but I'm excited to kind of just figure out what's gonna make it into the next taping into that hour.
That's an underrated part of the process of putting together a set is reconfiguring where jokes are being told. Are you pretty confident about your opener or closer right now? Or are you even tinkering with those two things too?
Now I'm pretty confident with those.
Okay.
Um, I think that's a big part of my process when it comes to thinking of new material. Is I always try my new joke at the very beginning of my show. So I come in with the mentality of like, I need a good opener. Like I need a good opening joke. And I feel like if you write every joke as if it was like you're, you need to come out heavy, like then most of your jokes end up pretty strong.
Oh, interesting. I like that philosophy there. Just a couple more questions now, Ralph. I know in a previous life you were a barber in Oak Cliff. I know that Oak Cliff has gained in popularity in the last few years because of the Bishop
Hmm.
Arts District. It didn't have a great reputation when I was a kid, but things do have a way of
Yeah.
changing. I heard you mention in a different interview that one of your favorite times of the week as a barber was on Saturday mornings before the shop had opened up. There was a certain serenity about getting everything set up and the camaraderie of talking to your fellow professionals. Is there anything like that with stand-up comedy? Is it as simple as just hanging in the green room beforehand, or some other aspect of stand-up where you find that sort of serenity or peace with the art form?
I would say before and after the shows when we're in the green room,
Hmm.
just me and the other comics on the show with me, whoever those comics may be for that weekend. Especially the comics that do travel with me every weekend. Because I got guys that are with me at every gig, and then I got other guys that come like on this gig and maybe another gig here and there. But yeah, nothing beats like the show's done, the pressure's off, and we're just in the back, maybe eating, smoking a bit, and just kind of shooting the shit. Like that's maybe like that version of that.
Cool. Uh,
or being at a show and watching another comic, like a bunch of us comics watching another man's like another comedian's show, you know, like that's pretty sick too.
who is the funniest person that you've seen recently? Like a set that just blew you away. It could be somebody that's well known or maybe somebody that's lesser known.
Oh, that's a good one. Hmm. Somebody I've seen recently that just blew me away. Every time I go to New York, I see people at the Cellar. I feel like the Cellar is the greatest comedy club of all time.
Yeah.
And every time I go, because this guy doesn't have any social media, I don't believe, just a couple sets on YouTube. So every time I go, I get to see like a little bit different material. But Ethan Simmons Patterson
Hmm.
out of New York, you can look that guy up on YouTube. Very funny. But every time, the last couple times that I went up at the Cellar, I always had to go after him, which is tough. But yeah, I love watching him.
Because you hold the Cellar so fondly, do you feel any more pressure when you step on stage there when those low ceilings and that below ground club?
A little bit, just because I know that all the people there like, and it's not even just because it's the Cellar though. I think it's more because I'm in New York, and it's a place with some of the most diverse crowds. You
Yeah.
got people from all backgrounds of life. You also got people that are probably visiting from other countries. I always meet people after the shows that are like, oh yeah, we're visiting from like Switzerland or here or whatever. And so the pressure's on there because I'm like, all right, these people are from so many different walks of life. So if I can make this room laugh, like this joke is a good joke, or like I'm really being funny here, you know. Uh, so yeah, that's where the pressure sits in. Just that's why I love going to New York though. It's like if I'm funny there, then like I'm funny.
Have you done a European tour yet?
Nah, we were gonna do one around this time. Like we're gonna close out the year out there, but I wanted the chance to actually like enjoy the different cities. So instead of doing like a whole bunch of cities in one road trip, like one trip, I'm just gonna try to hit one city a week. You know, just go out there for 2 weeks, just only do two cities, really get to enjoy the area I'm at, then come home for a few months and then go back to it in a different part of Europe.
That's a really smart way to do things. Normally, you see those whirlwind tours. I like that strategy, though, man. Kudos to you for thinking of that. All right, last two questions now. One is has to do with parenting because you do have a 5-year-old, and then we're going to end with stand-up comedy. You are the father of a 5-year-old. I'm the father of a 10 and 8-year-old. I love talking fatherhood with other dads. What do you think the biggest challenge is for parents in 2024, Ralph?
Man, and I'm pretty sure this is the same thing that the parents were saying like 10, 20 years ago, but the internet and the games in the internet are always changing. I'm 28 and I'm ashamed of myself because I'm already having these problems where I'm like, how does this game work? Who's talking right now? Like, how do I shut them off? Like, is this other kids on here playing? Like, because my son loves Roblox, and I know Roblox is a lot. Yeah, it's like for kids and stuff. But some of these games, I'm like, bro, are you sure these are kids? Like, maybe don't play this. And then my son's like, bro, I'm gonna play Roblox. My friends play Roblox. I'm just like, oh man, it's stressful.
I
What do you?
introduced
What about you?
I introduced Fortnite to my son, and it's the same thing where he's like a crackhead. If I tell him he can't play video games for the day, he gets upset with me. And he's got like a bad attitude for the rest of the day. I'm like, maybe I need to get rid of this game altogether. I'm in complete agreement on the technology. Technology is a problem, and I'm glad that society on the whole is starting to figure that out now. Like schools are finally starting to ban cell phones and smartwatches and tablets during class. It's like this is an obvious move that should have happened a while ago. For me, and this ties into it, I think the biggest challenge is making sure that we are raising present little humans who have the ability to interact with others face to face and also are able to exit their comfort zones to think creatively about things. Kids naturally start out with a creativity about them and a sort of awe about the world. And as you grow up and as you get more comfortable with things, it starts to go away or that awe shifts from one area to the other. But the ability to be present, to have face to face conversations with other people, and to problem solve when you need to problem solve. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, that are losing those skills right now, kids and adults alike, by the way. And that's because of technology, too. So I don't know. I feel like I was rambling there, but hopefully that made sense.
Now I'm in complete agreement. Every time we're with friends, families, or wherever, I'm like making sure my son looks at people, is talking to them while looking at them, is greeting them, is saying goodbye. Like it's not just trying to zone out or something. And the problem solving thing is something I worry about a lot too, because I know my son's only 5, but he's very capable, and I feel like he's more capable than what he thinks he is. So like, it just little challenges. I try to like leave it up to him. I'll tie his shoes for him, and I'll tell him to watch how I tie him. But every now and then, I'm like, I'm not gonna tie him. Like, just try. Like, and he gets frustrated. I'm like, you don't even have to get frustrated. We're not in a rush. Like, this is not a do or die situation. Just try your best to tie them, however they come out. But like, you gotta just start trying to figure it out. Little things like that here and there. I'm like, figure it out.
That's exactly right. And as parents, you want your kid to live a better life than you got to, but you've got to make sure that you're challenging them and allowing them to fail because they learn by failing. And so tying the shoes
Yeah,
is, I think, a great example of that. So kudos to you on that one, man.
I saw a quote the other day, and it was like, if you raise your kids, you can spoil your grandkids. If you spoil your kids, you end up raising your grandkids.
Oh, where was that from?
Somebody left that on a comment of somebody else's like skit, and I can't. I wish I could give credit to the skit. It was a funny skit, but yeah, I was like, man, that makes sense.
That is very profound. All right, last question now, Ralph, and thank you again for the time today. It's been a real pleasure, man. I love stand up. You obviously love stand up. What do you love about stand up comedy?
I love the idea of having to think of the joke, and I think the funniest moments in life in general are like when you're quick on your feet, you weren't even trying, whatever. But I think my favorite part of stand up is knowing that like tonight I can go do 10 minutes, but throughout the day I'm like, what is something I should say? What is something I should say that I have to start off by just saying it. I can't wait and go off of somebody else's comment or conversation. Like, what can I say with the fewest words possible that makes them laugh? Like that challenge is my favorite part of stand up.
Very well said there. He is Ralph Barbosa, going to be at the Paramount Theater this weekend. 2 shows on Saturday. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to go see this show, there are limited tickets left. Both will be completely sold out by the time we get to Saturday. Go to austintheater.org to snag what remains. You can also check out his very funny special, Cowabunga. It's available on Netflix. And connect with him on social media, see clips and other things. You can go to barbosacomedy.com. And you can also check out future tour dates for Ralph at barbosacomedy.com as well. Ralph, thank you so much for the time today. Hopefully this isn't the last. Safe travels to and from Austin and elsewhere. And thanks to your driver as well for conveying y'all safely as you talked to me today.
We parked, man. My driver fell asleep on me. I had to take over, but thank you.
If you're still watching on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or elsewhere, I greatly appreciate you subscribing to this show, and please do like today's episode. Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. Talk to you next time. Books on Pod.